I had to prove that women athletes are good, that tennis is a great sport, and help people to understand that gender is not as big a deal.
In the 1970s, most women still toiled in a workplace segregated by gender. Men did certain jobs and women did others. In addition, women's jobs usually paid less than men's jobs did. For example, nurses, most of whom were women, earned less than truck drivers, most of whom were men. During the 1970s, record numbers of women entered professions that men had traditionally dominated. The decade saw a number of 144% increase in the number of female accountants and a doubling of female chemists. In 1972, only 4% of the nation's lawyers were women. By 1980, that figure had risen to 13%. By the same year, 1 in 5 medical students was female. As encouraging as these numbers were, they did not tell the whole story. In the 1970s, most women still toiled in a workplace segregated by gender. Computing machines began to change the ways Americans worked as early as the 1950s. However, the first computers were large and complicated to use. During the 1970s, new technologies that replaced bulky vacuum tubes and transistors with tiny silicon chips inspired a revolution in computing. For the first time, it became practical for ordinary Americans to buy and use a personal computer, which is also known as PC.
Go up and down and up. It's getting tricky. Missed it. One up.
By today's standards, the Apple II was slow and had a minuscule amount of memory. But selling at a price that middle-class families could afford, the Apple II launched the personal computer revolution. Families, business, and schools purchased more than 2 million Apple IIs between 1977 and the end of the computer's production in 1993.